Hi everyone and welcome to another video from Hostile Territory. One of the main pillars in a toxic company are narcissistic bosses. These people seem to have a major role in keeping the toxicity in a workplace and not even keeping it there, but also letting it flourish. In this video, we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about what are some of the common signs of a narcissistic person. And of course, I'll tell you my personal experience from my former toxic workplace. So I hope this video helps and that you'll have some use from it. So stay tuned.
Hostile Territory.
Before we start, and as in most of my videos where I touch some sensitive psychological topics, I just wanted to say that all of what you'll hear in this video is not any kind of professional advice. I am not an expert, which is obvious. All I have is my personal experience and what I read on the internet and heard from other people. And this is what I want to relay to you. Above all, my personal experience. Take this as one worker sharing his experience with other people in the hope that this will help. Now, to define what a narcissistic person is, to be exact, I found a definition on Google and I'm going to read it for you. The definition goes: a narcissist person is a person who has an excessive interest or admiration of themselves. This is what I found on Google. In shorter terms, narcissists are people who love themselves unconditionally, okay? They love themselves through the roof. If you think about this normally, there has to be problems there. I don't know if narcissism is a thing about genetics, if it's about upbringing, if it's about, the place you live in. But if you think about it, if you only love yourself and love no one else, that is big trouble in the beginning. Not only for work, but for family and for everything else. Now, to mention a few characteristics of narcissistic people if you haven't encountered them by now. The first and most obvious characteristics is that they think they are the supreme being. You only have to have a conversation, a few words to see what a narcissist is all about. All that you'll hear is that that person is the best. They are the masters of the universe. Next, since that person is the supreme being, you have to obey that person. It's just the way things go. That person will not have any problems regardless of your age, of your working experience and everything else. They will not have a problem to send you to get some coffee, to send you to do some stupid errand, to do their job for them while they go off and have a cup of coffee with their friends. Obeying is something that narcissists think you must do. Furthermore, their own needs come first, and get really used to this. For instance, if you get a tip of 50 euros, the 50 euros will be in the pocket of the narcissistic person. They'll not get a cent for it simply because they think they've earned it, although you may have done the job. Linked to that, again, is that they will exploit you for their own gain. These people have no remorse for doing anything. For instance, you do the whole job, you do everything. They will easily manipulate things to show that they have done the job and take the credit. Another thing where narcissists are absolute masters is exaggerating their own accomplishments. With narcissists, you're going to hear a lot of things about themselves, about how they did things very well, how they made huge achievements and everything else, when in reality, most of that is a simple lie. But be prepared for this. This is a part of their personality. It is very annoying, but you should be aware of this. Next, you should be aware that narcissists have a humongous ego. And by humongous, Jupiter is small. How big of an ego these people have. And be aware, if you touch that ego, I'm saying this to you, if you have a bad boss, but you have to keep that work, if you touch that ego, you're in big trouble. That person will fight to the bitter end to prove that you are wrong, that you are the one that is less worthy, that again, he or she is the supreme being, and so on. By this time, you've concluded also that these people lack empathy. Now, most normal people have some sort of feeling for other people and for other beings. But with narcissists, be very, very careful. They lack empathy on almost any level, and seldom will any of them help you in certain situations and show compassion. One more thing you should be very aware of is that narcissistic people, especially the ones that have less intelligence, are often rude or even hostile. In most cases, they don't have any valid explanation or argument, and then they start becoming rude. They start to shout, they start to yell, they start to cuss even, and all of that is sort of a charade to hide their own incompetence. The last characteristic is envy, and be very aware of this. As the Jewish people would say, be aware of the evil eye, and this is completely true. Narcissistic people are one of the most envious people in the world. Why? Well, I guess it's because they are the supreme being, and the supreme being is the best in the universe, And if someone else does it better than you, then that vision starts to crack and crumble slowly. And that is not possible. That cannot happen. I think this is what happens in the head of those people. You'll notice that envy very easily if you're better at work, if you're better at doing projects, if you're better in whatever you do at your work. These people will stop at nothing to tear you down. Be very aware of this. It goes double in a toxic workplace. But perhaps you can prevent this by not sticking your neck out, By being average, you can perhaps avoid this. But know this, narcissistic people continue with that envy even after work. If they see that you drive a better car than them, if you have more money than them, if you have a better house, if you are better at some sports perhaps, they will be envious almost the same. These people are very dangerous regarding this matter. Now the part about my experience with a narcissistic boss. Now on this part I thought about telling you about what my boss was like, how bad the narcissism was and everything else, but I'll just make it simple and short. If you were to make a checklist with all the previous characteristics we mentioned in the video, this guy would check out for all of them. An extreme narcissist. And I had lots of collisions with this person. That person did not like me one little bit, and I think he was the happiest person in the world to get rid of me once I was out of the company. I myself am a person that does not like to bow down to anybody except the Almighty. And, I don't like people who take other people's credit. I don't like people who are good at talking and not working. I don't like people who simply brag about themselves all the time and so on. And being like this, of course, that is the arch enemy of the narcissist. And I'll give you some advice of how to cope with a narcissistic boss rather than blabbering and bad-mouthing my boss. This is how I coped with that kind of person. The one thing you should do, and never forget this with a narcissistic person, is to show a lack of respect. This is the absolute penicillin for narcissistic person. But you should be very careful how you do this. Again, I will mention the ego part and the part where they are very vulnerable and they ask for approval. But you should do this in a certain way. And I mentioned this in a previous video, I think. You should do this in such a way that you are not exposing yourself, not exposing your emotions above all, but tell that person that you don't care about anything, that you think that he or she is incompetent, that he or she is not worthy of your words, and you think that he or she should not be there at all. Have the face, have the body stance. If the person is, narcissists like to yell, they like to shout, they like to cuss, they like to do stupid things like that, they like to impose themselves on you, although they are cowards in most cases. When that happens, just stand still and listen and just don't say anything. If that person shouts, what's gonna happen, and everything else, you just say, are you finished? But do that in a semi-hostile way. Trust me, again, it is like penicillin with a virus. Where it touches it, the narcissism will go away. When you do that a couple of times, that person will get out of your hair 100%. So, dear viewer, for the end of this video, I would like to emphasize one thing. Never underestimate a narcissistic person. If that person is your boss, always be aware of who you are dealing with. These people will, without any kind of empathy, any kind of compassion, nothing, these people will throw you under the bus, even if you didn't do anything, okay? If they see that they can have a certain use of you, if they see that they can get out of trouble by throwing you under the bus, if they see that they can use you to get to a higher position, they will do so without any problems. They can even cost you your job, trust me. But again, never give them any kind of respect. And I mean never. Form a picture inside of your head, just like they have a picture, where they see themselves as the supreme being. See yourself as the person who doesn't respect those people in any way. And cement that vision in your head. And every time that person comes to you, and every time you have a stance like that, they will start avoiding you, trust me. So that's it for this time. Please like and subscribe. It's a huge help for what we're doing. Again, I hope that these videos help get through a tough time. Working in a toxic workplace is a specific situation. It's a specific environment. It can cost you your health. It can cost you money. It can cost you lots of things. So if you're not careful, you can get yourself into trouble. Be always aware of this. Thanks for watching and thanks for your time.